Dave.
Good
Dave
morning.
Pendleton.
Good morning, MZ.
How are you feeling today? Be honest.
I am feeling pretty good.
Oh, how are you feeling, Dave Michaels, today?
I feel great, MZ.
That means everybody's feeling. Nobody talk. Everybody shut up. Hey, we're on the air. Shut up, everybody. We're on the air. God. Okay, Dave Michaels. Dave Michaels.
Yes, sir.
You want to say something about the Dave Cave?
Yes, everybody.
Good.
Well, most people should know that I'm out there from 10 to 2 every Saturday. Today's no exception. I'll be out there till 2. But what I want to tell people, MZ, just a little bit to tell people about some of the stuff that I don't ordinarily talk about, and that's things like the multi-EFAs. A lot of people don't like the fish oils. You know, essential fatty acids are very, very important.
Do they smell like fish?
Well, the multi-EFAs are plant-based, so they don't taste like fish.
Or smell like fish.
Or smell like fish either. We have Memory FX, Colon FX, Vision FX.
Memory FX?
Memory.
Oh,
FX.
memory.
Yes,
okay.
yes. That other. I'm going to ask Dr. Wallach about that. We'll see if we can get that made. Sweeties. We have zinc, niacin, vitamin D, vitamin C, MSM, glucosamine, collagen peptides, Arthrodex. We have all kinds of stuff out there, MZ. And today we have a sale going on. I believe next week as well. But if you want to make sure that you're going to get what you want, you got to get there early. And if anybody stops by to pick up a Healthy Start pack today, if they request it, I'll give them a free catalog. A printed catalog. And this is mainly for people who don't have access to the internet. So if you have access to the internet, go to KSCOhealth.com and leave the catalogs for people who would like, to look at things without using the internet. But I do have catalogs available, and if you want to stop by and pick up a Healthy Start pack, I probably have a stack of about 7 or 8. So yeah,
that's
come on
nothing
down.
to sneeze
And again,
at.
first bird gets the worm. Is that how it goes? Early bird gets the worm?
Early bird gets
the worm. So first come, first serve. Be sure to be the early bird. Get out there as soon as you can, MZ. That's the way to do it. And if you can't make it out there in person, be sure to go to KSCOhealth.com. We've been getting a lot of people wanting to know how they can support the station other than buying vitamins. And I tell them, just go to KSCO.com. There's a link there. You can donate to your favorite radio station. Donate money, which is,
donate $5.
Whatever it is,
a lot of people
$5,
donate
$10.
$10.80 because we're at AM 1080.
Right, I love it.
Yeah. Larry and Marina a few months back donated $1,000
Wow.
to his favorite radio station.
So he was only $80 short of making it.
Well, no.
$1,080.
We're talking about $10.80. We have a number of those people who do it monthly. Yeah. But in any case,
well, the frequency is 1,080.
That's true.
So we can get $1,080 out there somewhere. Somebody's willing to do it.
Right. And we'll graciously accept anything.
Right.
That is donated to your favorite.
Absolutely. That's KSCO.com, KSCOhealth.com, and be sure to stop by.
There's also support KSCO.com. That's a separate website just for that.
There's a link there at KSCO.com. So you can find everything you need at KSCO.com. Everything's right there. You can find links to here and there.
Now, you had something interesting happen to you on Flight 1080 this week, right?
Oh.
Someone bailed out. One of your co-pilots bailed out.
It happened to me almost all week. It was incredible. I just can't. I'm just thankful that week is over, MC. I'm going to go out there in the Dave Cave and just hide out and wait for people to show up.
How cool. How cool.
All right, MC.
All
I'll see
righty.
you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dave Michaels. And now let's start the show.
Good morning. A brighter day is here. Good morning. May we bring you cheer.
We've got time, we've got tunes, we've got time, tunes, and temperature.
Get up and go, it's today you know on KSCO Radio.
Good morning. Good morning to all of you folks out in KSCO land. MZ is here, and so are 3 other humans. Actually 4 if you count Dave Pendleton.
There we are.
It's not going to be your typical Saturday special.
Which makes it a typical Saturday special. It's a special.
I never thought about that. You could be right. Okay, well, here's the music again.
Good morning. Now stay right here on KSCO Radio.
Do not miss the next Saturday special. We have avoided one very hot topic for years, but we cannot avoid it any longer, or your favorite radio station will explode. After all, none of us would be here were it not for gender relationships. This is an indisputable fact, but why do we waste so much time talking politics and other topics that lead nowhere? Clearly, different genders think differently, but where in the world can one train for a successful relationship? I know of no college course called Relationships 101. Do you? Well, there should be. Join us on the next KSCO special when we will present no fewer than 2 acclaimed gender relationships experts this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, right here on Don't Worry, We'll Fill the Emotional Voids in Your Life Radio, KSCO. That's the crossfire, which signifies that the upcoming program is probably going to have some elements of controversy to it.
Some gravity.
Yeah, whatever. But I'm excited because we don't do programs like this. Why don't we do programs like this?
Well, we're doing one right now.
That's not the question. That's an answer to a different question. What's the answer to the question I asked? Why don't we do programs like this?
Well, we are going to find out today and get some feedback and see what we think, and maybe we can do more in the future.
Allow me to introduce our guests. A guest host is no stranger to the Saturday Special audience. It's none other than Amy Howe. Hi, Amy.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
And now, gender relationship expert number 1 is Vivian Wong. None other than the Vivian Wong, not a Vivian Wong, the Vivian Wong. Hi, Vivian. How are you?
Hi. Thank you for inviting me. I'm
Yes,
not an expert, but I have a lot to say about it.
That makes you an expert.
I'm an amateur.
And then in his triumphant return to KSCO, it's our former Monday 2 to 4 talk host, none other than Alex Darnell.
I'm here, everybody. Everybody thought I fell off the face of the earth. No, I'm back. I'm here, just waiting in the wings for a triumphant recrowning of my former glory.
Yeah, and so and
Welcome back.
Good luck with that one.
No one realizes that you are the gender relationship expert that you are.
I don't know about that, but I'm going to try my best.
Just like Vivian is being modest, so are you. Okay? So how do we kick off a discussion on gender
Identity?
relationships, gender relationships? Okay, Amy, this was your idea.
My idea?
Yeah, to do this program. And I don't know, I forgot what it was, because every day that passes, my memory banks are more challenged. So I forgot what it was, but you remember what it
just accidentally, I think you and Alex were talking about the relationship about a couple of days ago.
On the telephone, yeah.
On the telephone, yeah.
Yeah.
So that down to me, and maybe it's a good topical. Because it seems like it doesn't matter how old are you and the relationship and still affect to your life.
Right.
Some are probably whole your life, whatever.
Right.
So I think we have a reason to talk about it.
Now, so you're a co-host and a guest today. So let's start with you.
With me?
With
I
you.
think it should have started with a real guest.
Okay.
That's what they all the way coming here. So now
That's okay. Yeah. But because a lot of people know your story, but they don't know the relationship part
I
of your
talk
story.
about later. I wanted them
Okay.
to talk. I wanted to listen. I
Okay.
want to know.
So you had met Vivian not too long ago and had learned that Vivian has quite a bit of experience in relationships. And, well, you know what? I don't feel like struggling anymore in this introduction. You take over,
That's
Vivian.
right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening as well and inviting me here. My name is Vivian. So the reason I've been invited by Amy is we met on July 4th, and we talked a lot about our stories in the past and our point of views in life. And she think that I have experience in relationship, and should have a lot to say about it. So anyway, I want to give a brief introduction of my background. So I am divorced right now for 10 years, but I was in marriage for 27 years, had 3 children. So I also was in the real estate business in Silicon Valley for 28 years. Basically, most of my life I was working with people. So relationship to me is one of the most challenging things in my life, as well as very rewarding experience. I've learned a lot through relationships. Basically, the reason I'm very keen on learning more about relationship and reflecting on my life is because it is fundamentally very important to everybody's happiness, personal growth, enlightenment, awareness, and also health, physical health and mental health and spiritual health. Right now, I know that it's a new age for relationship because people are changing. The world is changing. So there are a lot of revelations in relationship that people have never really thought about or experienced. So this topic is extremely interesting, not only to me, but I'm sure to a lot of audience. So let me just start with statistics that I know. So from one statistic that I heard, out of 100 couples, 50% got divorced, and 40% are in troubled relationship, in marriage, and not happy. 10% are very happy. That's what I heard. I'm not sure this is true or not, but I think it has a lot of sense. From my personal experience, I can feel that a lot of couples around me, like friends, clients, a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are divorced. For example, my own family, I have 2 brothers and 1 sister, so we have 50% divorce rate. And I know a lot of families have 100% divorce rate, and some have 60%. So the divorce rate is really high. And the reason why it's high is because the relationship, marriage, love are troubled. So we need to shine some lights on this topic. Hopefully, today we can benefit the listeners and audience. Hopefully, we can echo my experience and my point of view and my reflection of my life can help some people that listening right now.
Sounds good to me.
I'll buy it. Where do I sign up? Okay, my name. I'm Alex Darnell. I used to have a radio program here for about 10 years until they showed me the door, and I thought at first they were just showing me a nice new door they had. They said, no, actually, we want you to go through that door. And I said, okay, see, all right, I get it. They want me out of here. Basically, yes, I am an observer of people. I don't have high experience with successful relationships, but I come from a family where there's a lot of very successful relationships. 3 brothers, I'm going to say they're happily married. You go, well, oh, you thought they were until they all divorced the same week. But I've found you can tell when people are at least happy when you meet them, and that is they're in harmony with each other. They they are on the same page in life, and they look after not only each other, they look after themselves, but they also look after the relationship. In other words, they know the relationship is like a plant. You have to water it. You have to give it energy beyond just yourself and the other person. You have to make that relationship, do your best. Like, okay, well, what would my partner like? They bring them home some chocolates, just little things. Everybody in life says, oh, it's the big things that matter. Well, reality, when you look back on your life, the little things are the big things. It's the little, it meant so much when she remembered, that I really wanted to go to that restaurant somewhere. And she took me there, vice versa. It's being on the same page. And I don't know, I can tell when I meet people, what the status of their relationship is. You can just tell. You can tell where the person's directing their energy. And if somebody is like starting to have marital problems, you'll see, you will actually see, the woman, like if it's a woman you're talking to, will kind of have this certain energy, like she's slightly on the make. She's kind of like, looking around who's else out there and maybe sprinkling some little bit of, love juice out there to see what comes back. And almost always those relationships fall apart. It may take a while, but they almost always do. And, I could see, she always seemed like she was on the move. That's interesting, So a relationship, it's hard work, but it should also be easy and fun. If it's too much work, it's not right, And a lot of people, one of the reasons why, you'll have a relationship that's not right is people will marry for the wrong reasons. They will marry for credentials. There's two things I say. There's chemistry and there's credentials. Okay, what's chemistry? We all know what that is. You hit it off. You laugh at the same jokes. You like the same kind of food. You just get along, right? But credentials, it is not just chemistry. You don't walk out the door and boom, I fell in love with this person. How did that happen? No, it doesn't work that way. It has to. The people have to have the credentials. And what are the credentials? Well, age within the right age bracket, socioeconomic. Same type of. In other words, a woman says, "Well, I want a guy who's professional. I don't want to marry the guy." I don't want to insult somebody out there, but I don't want to marry somebody who works with their hands when I'm like a doctor or something. Some don't care. But if you do care, then you'll go for, tell me about your new boyfriend. Oh, he's tall, he's handsome, and he's a doctor, and he drives a Porsche. Okay, and he lives on the beach. Great, but how do you get along? Well, we're working on that. And then of course the man, it's in reverse. The man will, what's she got going for her? Oh, she's pretty. And I can't tell you how many men I've known throughout my life. And a lot of them, were younger construction workers, and they'll marry the surfer girl. She's cute, she's funny, she giggles, whatever. And then they get married, and she, they both grow up, and she grows into a mother with 2 kids, and, adult world, you're no longer cute and giggly all the time, right? And so then, and plus, I hate to say it, the little cute look might change, right? And so it's suddenly like, what did I ever see in her? And I'll hear them, and I laugh, and I go, I know what you saw in her. She was just a cute, fresh, girl who you were sexually attracted to. I mean, you have to have, you have to go way beyond that. And, there's sexual chemistry. That's what we're talking about, chemistry. Well, it's credentials and chemistry. And that's why love at first sight is like BS. I mean, it's love at first sight.
You don't believe in such a
Well, no, it can happen. But the person has to have the credentials. It's always about the credentials. Some people put their credentials number one. Like I had a cousin. She married this guy. He was a complete idiot. He wanted to be a doctor because that's what the family was all about, doctor this, doctor that. And he would spend his relatives' money on her recklessly. And she had no common sense about, a new car, now I want another new car. the other one got dirty or something. I mean, literally, they lived like that for, 10 years and had 3 kids. it was a complete disaster. And then finally, she had to get rid of him when he was cheating on her. He finally went to the Caribbean to get into medical school, the only place he could get in. He was such a doofus. Anyway, he finally became a doctor, though. He actually is a doctor. But he has to go around to different places. They can't stand him, so he's like an emergency room fill-in that travels all over the country. But he made it. It is kind of amazing. But so anyway, that's,
Is that your story?
Well, my story is I'll tell you, my story is I never had much luck in relationships. I was always, I always had trouble kind of opening up. And so when I would open up, I'd become really sensitive to getting hurt because I wasn't used to being open with another person and sharing. And so...
Have you been hurt?
So I would get hurt easily because I wasn't comfortable in that space, being able to interact and share and discuss feelings. I couldn't do that at all. I was terrible. So I don't know if as the years went by, I just kind of let it fade back. And every now and then I'd have a relationship, and but it, never lasted. And so I guess I just dove into work, and that's where I'm at now. So, but, I love people, and I love trying to figure out people, and I'm pretty good at just getting a feeling for what people are about, and so you can do that with what their relationship's about too. I mean, like in property management, you meet couples, you're like, okay, well, what are these people about? Well, are they going to stay together? Are they happy? Is this going to work? Are they going to be knocking the walls down, fighting? Or here's another thing. It's kind of interesting. Somebody comes around and they're single, and you're going, well, especially if they're young, attractive women, they almost always get a boyfriend within a year, and they usually move in, and and they don't tell the landlord usually, and so, and the woman will say, oh, I'm not looking for a boyfriend, I'm not looking for a relationship, and I'm going, but I got news for you. There's guys out there looking for you. And they'll find you. You may not be looking, but they'll come looking for you. And that's how it works. And then, so I have to kind of figure out, well, what kind of guy is she going to get? Is it going to be a good situation, or is it going to be, like I said, they're knocking the house down, tearing the walls down? But to answer your question, really, yeah, I'm single. Would I say I'm happily single? Well, I'm used to it. I think I'm missing things. I think that's definitely true.
Can I jump in a little bit?
Well, I can stop talking. It's not my show.
Well,
He cut my mic off. What happened?
Sometimes I admire those that knows what they want in life, and they choose to be single and choose not to be hurt. From my experience, sometimes I wonder if I should have stayed single and not get married, because I'm a free spirit. But reflecting and looking back, I think there is always pros and cons in the relationship. Although I struggled for a long time, I can say 20 years of my 27 years marriage. Looking back, that what I learned is marriage and relationship really can make you much stronger and more wise and more colorful in your life. Not that I think if I have chosen to be living a single life, never married, no children, I might have regretted what I would be with children and with even a troubled marriage. So...
Are your kids listening to this program?
No. So this could be, is a very complex, I'm sorry.
Do your kids even know that you're doing this program? Was that by design?
It's okay.
I wish I could
don't
get
care.
rid of the kids. Oh, I didn't say that.
I think my children knows where I stand, because I'm really happy I had them, so that they taught me so much about life, and they helped me to know how to love, and they helped me to be more patient and tolerant, and I just couldn't imagine what I would be without them in my life, and without the hardships and I would say sandpapers of my marriage. I don't know who I would be. So I think everything has pros and cons, Alex. And
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is totally personal on your side. When you say you struggled for 20 years, I mean, what were those struggles? Do you think you just weren't the right person? Wasn't the right chemistry to begin with?
Perfect question. So the question is perfect because I think when I grew up, I want to tell you a story. Once I was on a train trip with my mother, and that was right before I was decided to get divorced. And I asked my mother, I said, have you ever told me anything about the hardship of marriage? And my mom didn't have a very good marriage either, back in China with my dad for 60 years. And she looked at me. I said, why didn't you tell me anything about finding the right person for me, knowing I'm your daughter and you know me, and you should tell me what kind of man would be perfect match for me. And she looked at me puzzled. She said, I'm 85 now, and I still don't know. So I forgave her from that moment. But what I've learned early on from my marriage, I would teach my children what is the principle and what is the basis for finding love in marriage. So I told them when they were 3 years old, again and again nagging, when you are going to get married, make sure you visit their family and look at their relationship, look at the guy's relationship with the mother, father, and their siblings. Make sure you look at how he treats his friends. And of course, he has to love you. So worst comes worst. If you guys break up or divorce, he's a guy of quality. If he have a good relationship with his family and he treat his friends well, he will not treat you bad.
That's
so that
exactly
is the
true.
Fundamental for a relationship, because you need to find the right person, the quality, nice, kind, compassionate, generous man. So even if the relationship doesn't work out, you are not going to suffer from the consequences from the relationship. So our generation, our elder generation, my parents' generation, grandparents, they have no choice. They just have to get married when they're at a certain age. Now things have changed. Women are empowered as well. They are having the equal opportunity of education as well as a job and opportunities to explore. And so they are not going to be living a life my parents generation lived, right? And they are going to have more, they want more in life. They have choices as well because the society is more tolerant. So they can choose to be single, they can choose to have children, they can choose to marry a man, they can choose to marry a woman, they can choose not to marry at all, they can choose not to get married and still have children. So I tell my kids, I'm pretty open-minded, so I tell my children, whatever life you choose, as long as you're okay with the consequences, I'm happy for you. As long as you are happy and you think that's the best for you, I'm totally happy for you. Don't just walk the way the previous generation have walked, because the time have changed. So I think finding the right person for a long-term relationship is really, really important. The right person at the right foot at the right door. It's so important.
The right restaurant.
And secondly, second, you'll avoid a lot of sufferings and hardships in your life. And also, love and marriage is totally different thing, And I also tell my girls, I said, if you can fall in love with 100 men, that's fine. I don't care. You have all kind of relationship that helps you to shape yourself, and they are all mirrors, and you can learn a lot from them, and you can grow, and you can be strong. But when you are choosing to get married, that's a commitment, and not only for you, it's for your children. Because if you choose the wrong guy to get married, to be the father of your children, you are going to have so much problems down the road. Because if the father is not qualified, is not a good man, your children will suffer.
Can I ask a question? Why do you think, I 100,000% agree with you that, yeah, you pick the wrong person, you're not going to be happy. But why do people pick the wrong people? That's the key.
I love all your questions. Because when you are at 20 years old and 25 versus you are 50 and 60, your maturity, you are only capable of, at that moment when you are 20 and 25, you're not having too much life experience, and you get excited about the look of the guy, the intellectual, or his exterior,
the credentials.
The credentials, his, a lot of like chemistry, and his the way he carries himself, and also because you are young, and for my case, I was very compassionate about guys who are less fortunate than I am. So I'm trying I'm the savior. I'm trying to help him, So you pick the wrong guy without seriously, because you're not paying too much attention to the consequences. You think, I'll get married, I can divorce. It's not that easy. Once you get married, and that kind of relationship can ruin you as well. Yes.
Yeah. First, I met Vivian. Then I look at her podcast. I think he interviewed lots of people, but one interview really hit me and moved me emotionally, because at first I saw the title is domestic violence victim of the interview, one a victim of a domestic violence woman. And so I thought, I saw so many of those stories, so no big deal. But I still listened the whole thing. But I never know lots of details. How kind of woman was trapped in for years, 10 years, 20 years struggling, Vivian was 27 years, and not can get out. So that, and then they asked, so they talking about lots of things, why, the reasons. So I learned a lot. So myself, I can say that in 30 years I live in China, and was totally suppressed. They suppress you to be a woman and to attracted to opposite sex, because they make you wear same clothes outfit, just like a boy, same clothes style. You don't even can tell woman or man, And so they just don't want you, because, communists, they want to control you, brainwash you. That's part of it. Because sexuality is individualism. So, but that you can't take away, it's in your mind. How do you can do that? So you have to forbid that. Make you fall in love with somebody, or you date with somebody, have some romantic things, immediately associate with crime and a criminal action, and then you're being punished. So just suppress you. So for 30 years, and I lost a friend, and then they got married, but just for some kind of purpose, political purpose, or survive. So like somebody say, I want to move to another city because in China it's not allowed. But if you're married to somebody, maybe you have a chance, right? So that kind of things. And so when I was, the time you're supposed to be fall in love, like I come to America and look at those movies and people, teenage love, and you become a youth, your first time love, those love stories. I always say, I never experienced that, Never experienced that kind of things. And because they suppress you, and you don't even feel it, you are the woman, and you allow to love somebody, that kind of love, not talking love with parents or families. And so, but I was very much decided, I'm an individualist, independent thinker. So how I can get away from a communist and to survive under that pressure to get married, not married until 30. I get out at 30 years old. And because I said that's the only thing I have left. They can control everything, and brainwash me everything, but that's the only thing. Still, it's my personal choice. I don't want to trade that. That's the last thing I have. So I hope, just, desperately hold that. So I come into the United States So I think I look at all the friends, they also get married because, I'm was 30, And so I think, maybe if you don't get married, maybe never going to get married. You're too old for that, right? So all my friends mostly they all for some kind of purpose. And some people even tell me, say, I'm so happy I'm married to a lawyer, I'm married to a doctor, I'm married to a professor. So they never say I'm married to a person I love, just like a profession. So I say, what if this guy's not become not lawyer anymore, not doctor anymore, not professor, then what? So who's
Divorce.
that person? Who's that the person, right? For the, material, usually just like I say, he has a big house, he have a good job, a good pay, so I don't have to work or whatever it is. They feel secure, so I'm going to have a family. So financial independence, to me, coming to my mind, is most important for you to have your freedom. So I want to come into the United States, for free. I want to be free. So how you can be free? So the first thing I work on my 5 years plan. So I want to get financially independent. I don't say the wealthy, but the independent, you don't have to, begging for something, rely on somebody, So I work a 5 years plan. I first get a college degree, because you had to have a degree, then you get a better job, right? Otherwise, you work at the restaurants. I don't say those jobs is bad. You can be a very good workers, right? But that's not my goal. I wanted to educate it in the United States, have my MBA. So I want to work the financial district and for the Wall Street firm. And then I wanted to have my own car and the own apartment. So 5 years, I work 3 jobs. I work holidays, weekends. So maybe lots of people think it's not worth it, because 30 to 35, 5 years, I just working, holidays, weekends, everything. But 5 years later, everything was materialized. Everything done. And then I think, you know what? Something is missing. I wanted to, and I think it's, I don't know, you love somebody, you get married, have marriage, have family, and all in love. It's different things. I don't think I ever will, like young people, 20 years or whatever, say, I in love, something like that. I don't think I'm going to have that feelings. But I do want to get married. I'm a marriage-minded person. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a family, if I have. Doesn't matter. I'm 35 years old or whatever. So I started thinking. I said, well, now I have everything. I don't marry for anything. So I can choose. And the one, I can pick the one I think is, fit my, desire, the people. So I started dating people. So lots of people say, you're lucky. So I married for 30 years until death do us apart. And that can help, So, but I think for 30 I have a wonderful marriage. It's like a marriage made in heaven. I can say that. And so probably fit your 10% of rate. But lots of people say, you're lucky, you met the person just right, you met the right person. I don't think really, yes, I'm lucky I met somebody. But I still think you had to working on. To me, for 30 years marriage is a commitment, devotion, and sacrifice. I talked about to lots of people and lots of independent women, especially American-born women. And they say that's BS. What do you mean sacrifice? Why we had to sacrifice? I say, well, I don't say. I say, actually, it's both, commitment first. And if people cannot commit to each other, I don't think the marriage ever going to work. Then the trust so important. But it's build up, but not to say, I trust you, I love you, that's it. And it's from time to time you trust and you're building up. It's lots of work. First 3 years of my marriage, and 3 times my husband almost died. First one infection, then the heart attack, then the 7 bypass heart surgery. For 3 years, He almost died. So that was a test to our marriage.
You know, can I interject something?
Sure.
I think that when people hear that it's sacrifice, they're like, who needs that? You know, they need to have some context of what the sacrifice is, and that it's not like the sacrifice, like a human sacrifice or something. It's like, you know.
Yeah, I'm talking about is
No, I know that, but I think the average person hears that. Young people, they're like, well, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a marriage that doesn't have sacrifice. I'm going to pick the perfect person, and it's going to just work perfectly. And I think what people need to see is that you know, you got to find somebody that has chemistry and credentials, hopefully more chemistry than credentials, but the two go together. I mean, you know, you're not going to have, it's not going to work unless somebody, you kind of fit the same background, the same interests somewhat. It doesn't have to be the same. But I think that what I see is less commitment these days. People are more like, you know, we'll give it a shot, see how it works out. You know, I think back when I was a kid, a couple of neighbors we were all friends with, the woman was like one of the original feminists. I mean, very strong, you know, strong person, had her own ideas, wanted to do all kinds of weird things. And she was a little, I don't know, you know, at the same time, you know, very intelligent. And her husband was, you know, very smart. He was an engineer. But what I saw was they both had deep respect for each other. And I mean, she was impressed with who he was, and he was impressed with who she was. And I would, you know, they had like an open door house, and we were all the kids were there all the time. And they would have fights and you know, but you could just see that they loved each other. And when he got sick, and he was sick for quite a few years, I mean, she did everything for him. It wasn't like, and that's the sacrifice.
I want to insert
right.
little bit of my personal experience on that issue. So when the 1990, we just got married for a few months, not even a year, and he got a heart attack. It's deadly one. Mm-hmm. And then the doctor come out and say that's it, because they had to stop heart attack, and then you can do something. Otherwise, you can't do any procedures. So I don't know what to do. That time, only thing can do is pray. So I say God, you know, I just don't know what to do. When I say I do and we get married, I just wanted to love him. I didn't know I do love him or not. I don't know. I say, now I know, because the feeling I have is like inside you. Part of inside you was took away. And you never have that kind of pain. I say, I think I love him. So please give me a chance to love him. So after 5 minutes, I think God answered my prayer. The doctor came out and said, stop, they can do something. So I get another 27 years lease, new lease for his life. I have a happy marriage.
That's wonderful.
So that's my personal experience. I think so important is, so lots of people say, oh, we don't have that kind of life and death situation and to test your marriage.
I mean, I think that some people do, but I've seen it where, okay, you know, this one friend of mine, he got multiple sclerosis and his wife left him, you know, after a little while. And then another younger brother of a friend of mine had he became a quasi-quadriplegic. He was sort of like, you know, in between a quadra and a paraplegic, and his wife left him. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, you know, for better or for best or forget it.
That's why you vote, very true. But I'm talking about, then 2 years later, he had the 7 bypass heart surgery. You know, then I think why become like that? Because the stress. So I had to pull him out of his law practice, right? And then I decided that to go. And then my husband said, what are we going to do? You run a lottery or what? I said, no, I didn't, but I can just figure out what we're going to do, right? So I talked to this experience to some of my friends. And one of the Japanese ladies, she also financially independent, very successful financial consultant. He said, Amy, I cannot do that. If my husband not working, he said, I cannot say, you don't work, I go to work. He said, I just cannot do that. I cannot supporting him. He said, how do you do this? I said, no, I didn't think it's two people, him or me, right? I think about the one entity. Because you get married, it's one. So you become a one. It's like your left hand get injured, your right hand had to work harder. So I didn't feel it's two separate. But you're married. That's how the marriage meant to me, you know.
Yeah, well, I think that what I've seen too is that there's another component that I'll interject that's probably a bit more controversial, and that is that due to the feminist movement, there is a lot of women that feel like they have to have their career, they have to do their own thing to some extent to feel fulfilled, and if they have to sacrifice the marriage and the family somewhat, then that's necessary. And I think that they pay a price for that, because then they just go back to being alone and not having a successful relationship. And I think that you have to work on getting some kind of harmony, and that's where both people have to really want to be married. I know this local family, they're both doctors. They're both doctors in town, and they have 4 children together. And they actually rented my house for me for a few years while they built their new house. And I mean, they just, were completely on the same page. They just, with the kids, everything they did, it was a lot of work with the kids, managing things. They had her mother helping, but they had a goal, and the goal was to have a family and to have careers. And they both, you could see the commitment was equal. And I think with some of the feminist movement people, the commitment to themselves and their work thing is bigger than it is to the family and certainly to the marriage. And I think that that's really prevalent in this town, actually.
What do you think, Vivian?
Yeah,
well, I think it's if women are happy, a man will be happy in the house. So it's I think it's just, women have a lot of opportunities, and so they have choices in life. For example, for my case, I was the earner for the family all this time. And then I have to take care of my children, and I have to take care of my husband. So that's a lot of load on my shoulder, and I got exhausted. So, and on the other hand, if the partner is not very emotionally mature and helpful with the children, and that's going to be really tough on the woman and the wife. So that's what I've been struggling for the last 20-some years. And I have a very successful career, and I worked really, really hard on my career, and I took care of my children most of the time. And I have to cook for the family, I have to do shopping for the family, I have to take care of all these events, so just so much, and I got exhausted. That's, when you are, a lot of women, if they have equally financially independence, and they have equally good career, and they are equally doing so much more at home, and the husband is not contributing financially as much and not helping the family grow, and that's going to be a problem, because we're supposed to grow with a lot of space between these two people, but all grow together, not pulling each down. So when one grows faster than the other, and the other one try to pull the other person down, that's where the problem comes from. So it's not one word you can say how a successful relationship works, but I think growing together is the key in a long-term relationship. And the other thing I want to emphasize is, I'm sure a lot of listeners have troubled the relationship and want to find out what to do. Since I'm one of the ones that actually get divorced out of all of you guys, so I have a little bit advice is, divorce for me, I'm not saying for everyone, to me is a very encouraging thing, and it is the beginning of my new life, and it is not a ending of my life. It is a new beginning, and I thrive, and I get stronger, and I get smarter, and I've learned so much from the past 27 years marriage life, And sometimes I teasing, I said, you know what? My ex is my sandpaper that actually mold me and build me up. And I become stronger, better person, better version of myself just because I have experienced the hardships, the hardest ships in my life is dealing with him. So when I was at business and I met a lot of difficult clients, and a lot of my colleagues admire my strength and my way of handling tough relationship with the clients. And I said, that's no big deal. The one that at home is like so much harder. So I've seen the worst. So I'm fine. I'm really calm and handles really tough relationship well because I've been there. I was at the bottom of the valley. So everything's going to be fine. So anybody that's having a tough relationship, work it out first. And if not, divorce is not the worst. It's not a lose. It's not a loss to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people. It's a beginning.
You hear story after story of people going through divorce, and it almost kills them. And your message is, don't let it kill you.
Yes. When I was talking to my divorce attorney, she made a comment. She said, you are one of a kind that I've seen that came out so positive. And I said, it's a choice for me. And there's always choices for all the people. If you choose to get out, you have to find a solid reason. Because I get out of a marriage because I feel I need freedom. And I feel I can be a better person by myself. And if you want to get divorced because you think you can find a better man, you are fantasizing somebody is going to save you from your troubled marriage and give you a better life, you have to think again. So because every single partner will bring you different packages. So the intention of getting out of a marriage life has to be really clear. So for me, is freedom and explore myself and improve myself, growing spiritually and physically. So for a lot of people, they just want to get a better package. They want to change a better package. Of course, that's another good reason, but just be very careful about that because you never know unless you live with somebody, then you know what the difference of the package is.
They'll show you your weaknesses is what happens. Every partner will bring out some weakness of yourself, and then you want to get rid of that. You have to be the one that works on that to make it better. That switching partners won't fix that.
Exactly.
All right, we're coming to the end of hour number 1 of the KSCO Relationship Special. And there's an hour ahead of us right after the news coming up in about 30 seconds. So stay with us. We already have callers on the line here, but and we will get to phone calls next hour. Our guests are Vivian and Alex and guest host Amy. Alex has become a guest host because he's it's in his blood already for quite a number of years. And I'm just sort of enjoying it and falling asleep here and there.
This evening, today, west winds 15 to 25 knots, gusts up to 35 knots this afternoon. Wind waves 3 to 4 feet, increasing to 5 feet this afternoon. Please excuse the technical difficulties, and now we return to hour 2 of the Saturday Special with your host, MZ.
How did that happen? We're back already?
Well, I've got something going on in the background, and it may not be good to listen to.
What in the world? Oh, that horrible sound.
That's what I'm...
Okay, that's
why
good. I want Krishna to call back, okay, because she was online. We were going to take her call. So if she's still listening, please call back, Krishna. Okay. Yeah, you could. Yeah, good. Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is do the hour number 2 music that opens up the Saturday Special. Hour number 2. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hello, darling. I hate to hang up on you, but I'm sorry, baby, but I have to go. It's time for that wonderful record show. I'd love to visit, but you'll have to call back.
Somebody sent an email, I don't know, a few months back saying, I think this is the person, it's the same voice that did that in the early 50s, but I don't know.
I'm sorry, baby, but I really gotta go to KSCO Radio. Bye.
And we're talking gender relationships on this Saturday special. My name is MZ. Our guest in the studio, Vivian Wong and Alex Darnell, and guest/host Amy Howe. And we will get to the callers if there are any callers today. But let's go back to the relationship. The main thing I got out of last hour's discussion is that Vivian is not at all broken up over your decision to divorce after 27 years. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You feel like you've been set free. And that's the message that you want to put out to our audience. So many people who go through divorces are so depressed that they want to kill themselves sometimes.
I am curious about how did your kids take the divorce, and what would they have the same view as you?
My elder one was mature enough, and she was encouraging me to get divorced when she was 12. So when she went to college, she went to Johns Hopkins, and the moment she left, the moment I filed for divorce. And my second one was 8 when I get divorced. She was kind of depressed and feel kind of ashamed because everybody else, her friends, all have a whole family and we are broken. So she complained, but over the last 10 years, she was solely living with me. She realized what kind of life I would have and she would have if I stayed in a marriage. So she said, Mom, now I understand why you got divorced. Because when kids get mature, they understand marriage and love much better than when they were young. When they were young, they had lack of security. And so she was afraid.
But see, some of the kids never get that because they take the side of the parent who basically didn't want the divorce.
You're right. But, the thing is, you have to handle it really well after divorce. And I don't badmouth my ex. I don't complain about how bad her dad is. I just don't say anything.
That's smart.
And I warned her to observe using her own eyes, her own mind to find out down the road. So, and she saw how happy I was and how I am involved in my self-development. I have a lot of schedules for improving my art skills and my work, and I do a lot of interviews as well as an amateur thing and as a hobby. So I develop a lot of hobbies, and I'm into learning new things. And she realized that setting me free from this marriage is so good for me, and I was so happy. And both of my children saw that. And as kids, the only thing they want to see is your parents to be happy, no matter in divorce or marriage, right? So I think I'm setting a good example for them, versus my parents are not setting a good example for me because they were so unhappy, but they stayed. And that really troubled all of our siblings and myself included. We didn't have a good childhood. We didn't have a shining example to have a happy marriage. We never learned from good role models from our parents' marriage, so that's not good. And the one last thing I want to say about after divorce, before divorce, I was very worried about being alone and very sad and alone. I have fears, but after divorce, I started to plan my own life, and more and more I realized that I become more independent, and I realized that the fear that I had is really imagined because I have much more social life than before. Because when you are in a marriage, you have to make sure that your partner is okay with you going out with different events. and travel with different people. Now you just make decision, and you do a lot of more things and layers of lives, and you're more colorful. You get to know more people. You have choice of knowing different types of, go to different places. So my life has been so enriched in the last 10 years. And I think you can, is an option, is a choice after divorce. So it doesn't mean you will be lonely and sad and by yourself. No, if you venture out and you have all this freedom and time, you can live a so much better life and enriched life with the experience that you had in pain and suffering. You will appreciate it so much better and so much more. And you realize how precious it is to be free and to have choices in life and to have the courage to live your own life.
You know, can I insert something about you talking about your parents? Talking about in China. In China, my parents and the communists, they wanted, especially during the Cultural Revolution, they wanted to control everybody's mind. So they wanted children to betray the parents. And then parents, husband, wife to betray each other. That's the game they play. That's why they can control. So I always, now, come here, I like the song Stand By Me. You know why? Every time they're singing, I was kind of crying because I think about my parents. I don't say, you know, that marriage is perfect because my father is a very traditional, you know, Chinese man. So they go to work, the wife at home and taking the children. So he controlled everything. And then sometimes I ask my mom, say, how can you can take verbally abuse you, right? So talk down to you, something like that. And my mother always say that to me, say that, you know, because I do this for the children, I want you to have a complete family. And also, even though your father sometimes abused me, and I don't just walk away because he still is a responsible father. You know, he paid the bills and supporting everything, especially during the cultural, lots of fathers, and they cannot under this humiliation and the pressure, they commit suicide. As I know, my relatives, neighbors, so they become it's a tragedy for the children. They grow up without. So they sent me to the re-education camp. I was 16. So my father wrote it to me every week. He had one day off. He keep write a letter to me because that way I can receive every week, because it took about a month to get a letter from place to, they send it to me about 5,000 miles away. And so I receive every week I have a letter, and you had to put the most quotation on the top so nobody can censor your letter. Yeah. Otherwise you're never going to receive. So I was very touched. I keep all the letters, you know, because that's the treasure to me. So I was thinking, I said, doesn't matter, you know, maybe he had a bad temper, maybe in the pressure, you just yelling at us or whatever, but he's there. You know, he didn't to commit suicide or left or whatever. And so I still have some kind of support, you know, spiritual support from him. So I was thinking, you know, it's kind of, especially the time is tough, and whatever the disaster or tragedy hit you, if your parents, they stay together, so they make a good example for me. And so if I married, I choose the one I committed, so I had to be there. And so I think probably I just inserted, you know, the influence, the marriage from last generation to our generation.
Well, you know, I think that there was a time when people would stay together when they weren't happy. I think that my grandparents on my mother's side, I never knew my grandfather, but my grandmother I knew pretty well. She lived till I was in my 30s. And, you know, the story was they didn't get along. They would fight a good amount, but they were still loved each other and you know, had some kind of devotion, and the family was always the focus. And all the kids pretty much turned out really well. They're all successful kids and, you know, had good careers and all that. But she told the story. It was kind of funny. A couple years before she died in 1989, she said that she came from Lebanon when she was 18, and her mother told her when she left, she says, don't don't get married right away. Have a little fun till you're 20, 21 or something. But then about 6 months into her stay, her uncle, who she was living with, said, oh, there's a man who wants to meet you. And she goes, I don't want to do it. She goes, I don't want to meet him. And they said, well, you have to, because he's wealthy. He was an inventor and was successful for the time, you know. And so she went out on 2 chaperone dates, and they got married. and she's telling this story, and she's going, I never should have done it. You know, they had, 5 children and whatever, and I never should have done it, is what she said. So, that's the loss of the freedom. That's the where things were, women didn't have the choices, because you didn't have the job. So it was tough. It's not like, well, I'm going to start my own business. Back in 1920, you couldn't do it. So, but now I think things are all mixed up because the roles are undefined now. It's like, okay, I'll be the breadwinner. Oh no, you'll be the breadwinner in 5 years. We'll alternate. I mean, it requires, that's where you do a lot of work. You have to figure it out. But ideally, I think with the right person, what I see with people that are happy is they're just on the same page. They've developed, yes, they've closed their life away from what it could be, but they're on this path where it works because they're both enjoying their life and enjoying each other. And I think it's, the marriage, people say 50% of the marriages go down. That's not true. I just looked it up this morning. It's 35%. And in California, it's 60-something. And the state that has the lowest divorce rate is Massachusetts.
Wow.
Which is where my family's from. And, there is lower divorces in the family back there. There is some, though. There is some. But, yeah, and here, if it's 60% in California, in Santa Cruz, it has to be double that.
It has to be 120%.
Exactly.
So you made the remark, I think it was a conversation with MZ. You say that Santa Cruz, all the women, they are overpowering.
Yeah.
Feminist.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of them in this town that see it as a cause to be aggressive and domineering and really, give up some femininity in exchange for being a powerful person. And that is where I think they've gone wrong. And certainly, how many guys want to be around that? I mean, you do see some Santa Cruz type that become like women almost. It's like they reverse the roles completely. But it's kind of artificial.
Femen.
Yeah. I haven't heard that. It's like a artificial. It feels artificial. It doesn't feel like it's going to last as far as being a movement. But I don't think that, anything works. If people are happy, just like you said, whatever your kids want to be, I'm totally fine with that. If somebody's transgendered, whatever, or, it's like, well, they talk about transgender. What about cross-dressers? Don't they deserve equal rights too? I mean, it is just over the top. I mean, and the poor Democrats have gotten sucked into this whole alternative sexual identity thing, and they've lost their way. One of the reasons why they're heading down the tubes, in my opinion. But
can I add another comment?
Yeah, I like the down the tubes. The Democrats are going down the tubes. That's the best line of the day.
They shouldn't be. Yeah. They've got the issues on their side, but that's a different.
I have another comments that I want to mention is because in a marriage, kids are really important, and then also because you go through the tough job of raising kids and the tragedies happens in the family. And when that happened, it can really break you or make you both more united. So a lot of people getting divorced because there are tragedies happens to their family, and then both of them are handled so differently, and so that can be a really challenging situation, such as a death in the family or kids' health problems. So it depends on how both works out. It really is a testing field for what kind of person you are, what quality you have, tolerance you have, love you have, endurance you have. So if both partners are not on the same page, it can break the family.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. what's inside a lemon. Makes a
that's
lemonade.
where the strength of the person. That's why you have to get you choose somebody that has quality. There's a quality person.
I agree with you, but sometimes it is not that easy to know the quality unless crisis or challenging things happens in your life, how they handle it.
But you said it earlier. You said, well, how does he interact with his friends, his family,
Yes.
his parents, his
Yes.
siblings, all this? I mean, that's a clue to the person and how they handle adversity.
Right, because I've seen sometimes a very happy marriage, they don't have as much going on as some marriages have troubled, and a lot of things happening, and that's really hard for them to handle it and to resolve it and still on the same page. That's a tough thing. That's what I went through as part of my situation.
But you can grow apart. I mean, my cousin married a woman, a Russian woman, and in fact, they both lived in Japan at the time, and she didn't speak English and he didn't speak Russian, so they spoke Japanese to each other for the first 2 years, and everybody would look at him on the train like, what are you bothering with Japanese? But anyway, so they got married and they had a couple of kids, and she kind of grew into who she really was, as she was only 23 at the time, and she grew into her real personality, and it turned out she's this real free spirit. She's a real estate broker, by the way, up in Walnut Creek, and she's bought a few houses, and she's just super successful. But and he was just all about family and commitment, and she was just like wanted to sort of have fun. But at the same time, she was pretty dedicated to the family too. But they just grew apart. So you don't know. Yeah, that's the thing. If you marry somebody too young, they're not fully grown adults yet, and that's a whole other thing. I mean, you guys, I think, might be okay here. You guys are maybe old enough to know who you are.
Too old.
No, you're never too old.
We are old peoples, and there's not much time left.
There are 3 authors that I really highly recommend if you are interested in relationships. That I listen a lot on YouTube. One of them is Alan de Botton. He's really good on romanticism and also love and relationships. The other one that I really like is Esther Perel, and she's a Belgian psychotherapy. And John Gray. John Gray, of course, you all know, Men's from Mars and Women from Venus. And the other one that I actually like a lot is Robert Greene. He wrote the 48 Laws of Power and The Art of Seduction and other books. And I think they all have really deep insight about relationships, way more than I understand. But I talk out of my own life experience, and they talk from history, and they're really into psychology and all that. Very interesting and eye-opening. Yeah, I read a lot of those.
That sounds interesting.
All right. Well, it's 11:25, and we haven't taken a call. There are a number of calls on the line. I want deep discussion on this Saturday special. I kid around a lot, even a little bit on this Saturday special, but all of our guests are speaking with depth and conviction, and I want to keep that tradition with the callers. Let's see. It looks like our first caller is going to be, someone we've all heard and who always makes a wonderful call, and that's Rory in Watsonville.
There you go.
Hey, first of all, thanks for having me call in, MZ. Alex, good to hear your voice. Of course, Amy as well.
Nice to hear you too.
And
Thank you.
Say something nice. Say something nice to Vivian.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
she's the smartest one.
Well, Vivian, you're the reason I called. So I'm married. We have 9 kids. My wife homeschooled the majority of their grammar school years and some high school, but majority of the grammar school. And now she teaches at a small private school. So it took a lot of sacrifice, but it was our determination. Mom was going to be with the kids. And as they were young, before they got into school, and then it turns out she got involved in their education. But as you described your husband, I'm just thinking, what was this guy doing? You were the breadwinner. You did the dishes. You made the meals. You did all that. What was this guy doing? I mean, I know you put it out there, and you don't have to answer that question, but I would have been running for the tall grass.
Was he a fixer-upper?
Because
Well, I think he just think that I can make money easy, so he doesn't have to work. That's all. So he can have.
Yeah,
he
so he's the
basically
boss.
just play golf and hang out and go to massage and all that.
Wow.
Oh,
That's an easy life.
my wife would have kicked me out. There's no
I
way.
should
And-
have done that way back. Yeah, 27
Yeah,
years.
I had my model for me. My parents, they were both college educated. My mom's mother also. My grandparents on that side were college educated. They stayed home with the kids when they were little. But I saw my dad pitch in. He helped with dinners,
Yeah.
work around the place constantly. And so did I. I changed plenty of diapers. I love to cook, so I helped with meal prep. And that's the only way you can do it. I'll let the wife do it. That's never going to work.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was just curious. I thank you for your honesty and perseverance. The other thing too, I'll say, when we got married, our initial talk about anything having to do with divorce or escape clauses was we just weren't going to do it. And and thank God it worked out. But we're just saying, hey, divorce is not an option. We'll work through these troubles.
How many years you been together with your wife there, Rory?
Oh, let's see, 85. So
Not a ways.
we're coming
60.
coming up on this is 30.
7.
Is that right?
37.
Holy smoke, 37 years. Where's the time go, right? None of us are getting any younger. It just seems like it's accelerating.
Yeah.
But no, and you learn, like you were saying, Amy, you learn to love a person more the more you're with them.
Yes.
And but that commitment till death do us part, it's not easy, but it's pretty precious.
Yes.
Thank you.
So anyhow,
Thank you.
thank
Rory.
you. Yeah, thank you for letting me ask the question and chime in.
Thanks, Rory.
Thank you.
Here's Ryan in Marina. Ryan, you're on KSCO.
Yeah, I was just wondering one day when I called her and MC's going to be screening the calls herself. I've listened to the stories and it's interesting. For Alex, he reminds me of Dobie Gillis. It's similar.
That's a compliment.
Vivian ought to watch an episode of Alice. And for Amy, the only thing I could come up with was maybe the Lou Gehrig story. But, that's not no disrespect. I'm just trying to parody some of your stories you're telling with old TV shows. So enjoy the day.
Thank
Okay.
Thank
Our
you.
next caller is Jim in Pacific Grove. Jim, you're on KSCO.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I'd like to propose a restructuring of marriage, especially in California where the failure rate is so high.
Talk closer into the handset, if you would, please, because you sound really distant, and I've got you cranked all the way up.
Sorry, is this better?
No.
He played social distancing.
But, okay, I'll crank it up as much as I can, Jim. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to speak louder. So
Good.
I'd like to propose a new marriage structure where it's tiered, like 3 tiers. Like the first four years are tier 1. And in that time, the rules are a little bit different. If the marriage ends, the man does not have to pay, for everything like divorces can be now. It's 50-50. That way, the woman would think twice about having children with the guy because she'll know she doesn't get the the full support. So she'll think twice. She'll make a better decision, I think. And then you go on to tier 2 for 4 years, and then the final tier is the last tier is forever. I think the problem with most marriages are that they start out with expectations, and we don't meet each other's expectations, and that's where the failures start.
Okay, the mics are back
How
on.
many tiers?
Do each tier
Like
end
a-
in tears sometimes?
Like a Medicare, the drug
No,
program.
H
the
T I E R and then T E A R, right?
tier, that's a Medicare. Medicare.
Well, you can
At least
easily
somebody got my joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's why it's tiers. If it doesn't work out, the marriage ends, and no harm, no foul.
Okay.
And you can have a thing called house divorce, like house arrest. Your house divorce, where one of the partners declares house divorce, and that kind of puts the other partner on notice that they maybe got to stop drinking, or I got to clean up my act here.
It's like the Muslim tradition where the man just comes up to the wife and says 3 times in a row, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. And it's over. They just make it go both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim, for calling 479-1080. Appreciate it. Vivian, so are you open to another shot at marriage?
Sure. The other thing that I would like to say is because in a marriage, we all tend to take each other for granted, and it's more like a ownership. Before the marriage, the guy or the woman was so looking forward and chase after each other and value or appreciate or, But after marriage, it's like, oh, already married, then you are mine and I'm yours. So they don't treat it as a partnership. And partnership, you can depart anytime if you agree, but because ownership is hard, it is going to be financial sacrifice and all that trouble and all that. So I think if people treat marriage as a partnership, then they will be more careful. They will value each other more, and they will appreciate each other more. They will contribute more instead of, just relax and not contributing as much. So I think that's another
So
thing.
your first marriage clearly was not a partnership.
It's not.
What was it?
It was more like
Roommate.
yeah. Well,
Really?
I can't say that.
Not even
It's more like he take everything for granted, and he got a good deal that he knew, but he's still too relaxed afterwards, and he can treat me verbally abusive and physically abusive, and it just doesn't matter. He's not, because I'm actually was pretty loyal. I'm very loyal. I don't like to divorce. I don't like to change relationship, because for me, I was very focused on my job and my kids. I don't have time to fooling around and looking for new relationships. So I was just coming home from work every day and work, and I take care of my clients. So he knows I was not going anywhere, I guess.
So why took so long? I remember.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I remember you interviewed the victim
Yes.
of the domestic.
She didn't want to divorce from the domestic violence marriage because she has no financial means. She's a house mom. She has no other skills. She was afraid she cannot take care of her both kids financially. For my case, I was just too busy. And my clients are really nice to me, and they are so respectful of me. So I get a lot of satisfaction from job, from friends, and from clients. When I get home, he was mad, he was not happy. I was just for a few hours, and then I get out of house. So that's why people think I was workaholic. I was kind of a workaholic. I worked day and nights, weekend, evenings, and every day. I just so much into work because I don't want to stay home. I don't want to stay home. Every time I drive into my house, I feel like my heart's starting to sink. I don't want to go. I don't want to go home.
You should have had a duplex.
No, Vivi, I remember you interviewed a woman, and she said that because the husband was apologized after
Yes.
beating her, and then say that I love you.
That's
You are most important thing in my life. So I was thinking maybe one time, during the argument they hit each other, but then not the second time. I think you love somebody, you hit somebody, hurt somebody. That's love. And nobody take that full,
That's actually immaturity. I was so immature because it's the same thing like her husband did. And my ex was so apologetic every single time. And he could be very sweet to you. You know, sometimes he can be sweet, but then... And then he changed his mood like out of nowhere and get mad. And then suddenly he was so sweet. So it's like the problem with women is when we get married, we think we have all the power to change a guy. And
love
that's what
changes everything.
Love changes everything. That's what I thought. I'm so powerful. I can change him. He was not perfect. He has a lot of problems, but I can change him with my love, and I do things for him, and I be tolerant of him and all that.
You are Mother Teresa.
Exactly. Then now still people warn me, Vivian, be careful not to be a saint. I said, okay. So it's a lot of, that's one of the things that I stayed because I thought he could change because he promised to change and he vowed to change and he cried that he would change. And he was so depressed. He said, without you, he would be no purpose in life, whatever. You are so important. And for women like us, we are fooled so easily. I don't think we're fooled, but we're just compassionate about...
So whatever became of him?
That's very personal, so I'm not going to talk about it, but,
that's all right.
Yeah.
Without giving his name.
It's interesting.
Well, he's just, I'm living a really full life. I'm happy, I'm learning, but he's just this way he was. He was...
Well, that's all we wanted to know.
Yeah, he's not doing that
well.
I
think
financially.
also...
he's not, I have to say he's not doing financially well because he's just not have the drive to work hard and,
Some people don't.
Responsibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people that just don't like to work.
If you get a lot of money out of your wife already at divorce, you don't need to work.
You had to pay alimony.
Oh, no.
There's some people who actually set their life up so they don't have to work if they can find somebody that can take care of them.
That may not be the case in mine, but at least they can live a comfortable life.
But my question is, lots of successful men, they're doing very well, but they don't want to get married because they think that they don't want a divorce. So what is that?
I can go along with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's the same trap. You don't want to get in the trap, right? You don't want someone steal your hard-working money and just because they're married to you for a few years and they get half of your asset. If I'm a man, I would not get married if I have a lot of money. Of course, it depends on the right woman, right? But you have to be very careful because there are a lot of gold diggers there. And I know, there are a lot of gold diggers. They don't want to work hard. They just want to...
But you can tell a gold digger a mile away.
Sometimes you are not... Don't think you are so smart. No. You can be fooled because gold diggers are not like on their face. They say gold digger.
Oh, there's tips they do. They expect you to pay everything. That's number one.
No, not from the beginning. So
at the beginning, that's where
there are so many.
Oh, good. Let's get into an argument. That's been missing in this.
You think all the woman's a clean woman? You say the clean woman.
Oh, clinging.
Yeah, cleaning woman.
Yeah, not cleaning,
so?
cling.
Yeah,
C-L-I-N-G.
Clinging. Yeah.
Clinging.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had my share of clinging women, and
because
I'm repelled by clinging women.
Yeah.
Mike, why people cling to you? Because you have something value in you. If you are penniless, you are powerless.
Nobody.
Who is going to cling into you?
Well, you're talking.
For what benefit?
See?
I thought Useless, my cat, really loved me.
Only
but
animals.
All Useless really cared about was that I fed him.
See?
See?
Wow, it's coming into focus now.
Yeah, but I think at our age, we are no longer young, like 20s, 30s,
We're giving
even 40s.
old advice now.
Yeah, so
wisdom.
I think we basically looking for the soulmate for the rest of your life, whatever remaining life you have.
It's you.
It's a soulmate. That's what I wanted to achieve. That I can find a one or not, I don't know, because I had the one for 30 years, So I think that's the highest level,
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You want a soulmate.
Good luck living up to that, Michael.
Yeah, I know.
I think it depends on the quality of woman. If women are very capable and they have highly educated, they can make a good living of themselves, and they are not
Definitely.
greedy. They're not greedy. They're not going to be gold diggers. But people who are lazy, they don't want to work hard. They don't want to put efforts into anything they do. If they can get out, they can get.
Well, they might work hard to get
But that's
their
their
gold.
skill. That's something they think is easy
While,
for them.
while they're
right?
digging for their gold, they
Yeah,
might
but
work hard.
they are.
But
some
that's
of
a high return.
high
Much
return
high
investment.
return. With your beauty and
Yeah.
with your beauty and youth.
Youth, yeah.
You just natural. You don't have to work hard.
And they usually have charisma to begin with. And people that have charisma can get more out of life and other people than people that are more introverted.
They can learn.
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
right.
they can learn from history, and they can the art of seduction. You can
That's-
read a book and you can
Wow.
learn how
You
to
wanna
do it.
see that book?
There's one thing you can take to the bank. When you hear somebody describe the person that they're sort of in love with and having all these problems, that continue, the person always has charisma, and that's what draws them back, because charisma is alive. It's light. It's energy. It's what makes you a person rather than
Alive.
dead or something. And so the more a person has, the more attractive they are. And so when I hear these stories, I just immediately go, okay, that person has a lot of charisma, and so they can win back the person they just beat up.
Yes.
Or they can win.
You're right.
Yeah, it's
You're right.
totally what
Agreed.
it is. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So it's like, if you know a few basics like that and somebody's describing a situation, you can just sort of plug it in and go, okay, this has to be true for that to be true. And it's that's what I do. That's how I can figure stuff out, figure out people and.
Can I tell a very hot story that happened a few months ago in Silicon Valley?
Please.
So that was
He liked that.
such a hot topic. Like all the Chinese engineers go crazy. So this guy, his wife, this is a few months ago. This guy had a wife who both of them worked for Facebook. Maybe he works for Google. The wife for Facebook. Wife had not worked and at home taking care of the kids for 20-some years, for a long time. Finally, before pandemic, she got a job at Facebook. Unfortunately, a year later, she was diagnosed with cancer. So 1 year during the whole treatment, the husband was rarely go to the hospital seeing her. And then he got the wife's parents back from China to take care of the wife to U.S. When the wife passed away, he brought a new wife into the house 9 days after the wife died. And then he bought a plot.
Where'd he get her?
From China, right?
No.
Yes. The wife?
Yes, the wife
New
was
wife.
from China. He dated even during the wife was very sick. 9 days
Online?
after the wife died, he married to this new wife, and he has 2 children at home, like 8 or 10, whatever. And his in-laws are living with them, and the new wife live under the eyes of the children and the in-laws.
The old
And
in-laws or the new ones?
New one.
New one.
No, the old in-laws. So he was trying to, this becomes a lawsuit because he is evicting his in-laws because he want to send them back to China, but the in-laws doesn't have enough money to buy a business class. There is also he not giving much money to the in-laws. The in-law only have 1 child, this daughter that passed, and she has life insurance and all that, but he's not giving to them. He giving total like $50,000 to the in-laws, and the in-laws was not happy. Of course, the daughter is gone and living with a new wife under the eyes and in-laws. So he was getting restraining order from police station to get the in-laws out of the house. That's why the Chinese community and the in-laws, the passed away daughter's friends and classmates organized a group to protest and then get the whole news out. So the reason why this is a big thing is all the women engineers starting to wake up, say, what if my husband are doing that thing to me when I'm sick? So they don't believe in marriage and love anymore. This is like shaking the fundamental fundamental love and marriage. They married for 20 years. At the critical time, she needs him, not there. New wife coming, replaced, and he didn't feel anything. Drive out the in-law, and went to court, and a lot of people went to court with them because they want them to take out the restraining order. So this becomes such a sad, tragedy. Everybody's heart was like, this is betrayal of humanity. Betrayal. And I was talking to another lady about this on my YouTube channel. I was really upset about this, and everybody was.
So her children is not the beneficial on the life insurance?
No.
Do they have a living trust or anything trust?
I don't know the details, but he said his children encouraged him to have a new wife. Can you believe it? He said, my wife was dying, and she encouraged me to have a new life. I loved my wife. But if you loved your wife, you were not even at the bedside of that much. And during the wife was sick, he went to Florida to meet new wife, dating the new people, dating new girlfriends. So this is something shaking how do you believe in love?
Some people are just so selfish that they justify everything that happened that they do, and they don't see it as like, well, I'm looking for the wife for my children, and that takes time, so I have to go to Florida. See you later.
See, that's why I think I really like today's conversations, because we have like really good love, and all varieties of life is meant to be colorful. So we do have different taste of it, and it's just interesting.
We have a caller with a compliment. It doesn't say who the compliment's for.
You're
me,
fishing for compliments.
because I'm always fishing for compliments, right? Hopefully it's for me. Downtown Owl.
Oh, heavenly
Downtown
owl.
As Dave Michaels would call you. Yeah. Go ahead, Al. You're on.
Michael, it always goes without saying you deserve compliments. You run an incredible show here, bringing such talent together into one room. I'm always impressed. And I am so impressed with these ladies, Vivian and Amy. Not only Amy because of her China Watch contributions, but she brings...
Alex?
Oh. She brings such intelligence and insight in everything. And to hear her and Vivian, I just think it's incredible. And I think you should have them come on a semi-regular basis and talk about different topics in life, and call it Chinese chicks or something like that.
Interesting.
Because these two women just blow doors on these idiots that we have to see, like on The View, or of course I never watch it or whatever, but these insipid moron women who have no real substance that we see in the rest of
Thank you.
media.
You are so sweet.
Ow.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, but he compared you against these insipid, idiotic women. So he didn't say that you're at the level of these people. They're so far down that you don't have to be that far up. No.
It's a compliment.
I don't know. I'm too intellectually confused by that, but I have to say though,
can you rephrase it so that we all understand clearly?
Yeah, can you circle back on that? Anyway, no, Alex, you actually have had a very good contribution this time too. Your insight in terms of like being a property manager and long-term bachelor and dating, and your humor has been great.
Yeah, thanks.
As long as we stay out of the politics realm, I think you're great.
That's a good compliment.
Yeah, reminds me of my mother.
I know. You're much more liberal than I am.
My mother loved Pharmacist Ben, and likewise. But she told him, she said, Ben, stick to health. Stick to health. Don't go into politics. Don't talk about politics.
Yeah.
You're in la land, is what she once told him.
That's right.
Anyhow.
Anyway, I just wanted to say I think you guys are incredible. Just the insights that Vivian brought, and I not only feel you as like kind of an individual and what you went through in your life with marriage and children and that type of thing, but also some of that deep wisdom that comes from the Chinese culture, you know, that we admire everywhere around the world. I mean, I know it has some drawbacks, of course, but it's very, very admirable, and it's definitely something for the rest of the world and other cultures to look at. And I really appreciate it. I'd love to hear you guys talking about anything in the future again.
Thank
you know,
We
children,
will.
politics, food, anything. It's just, you know, I don't know how Michael somehow attracts this talent, and I'm always disappointed that it doesn't balloon into something bigger like it should. In so many cases, it's so deserving of praise and attention that just blows doors on the rest of the crap in the mainstream media. I'm just always amazed by this station.
Well, Michael is the most underrated talk show in the talk show host in the country. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Let's rate him up. Let's do
No,
something to make him up.
He is, and you know, I don't know why so much of this stuff isn't expanded into blogs and everything else. I mean, it's just incredible.
I'm a different kind of talk show.
He is lazy.
That too. That too. And I love compliments, so I want to keep Downtown Owl on for the rest of the show. Hopefully he'll ladle.
Well, you don't need to, and you know, I don't want to cut into these two fine ladies' insights into things, but I just think it's really incredible.
Okay,
and I'd love to hear
Downtown
more
Owl.
from both of them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now let's hear from none other than Billy Sunshine, who has some deep thoughts to contribute to the program.
Billy Sunshine. Wow.
Sunshine. Great.
Sunshine.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
All of you.
Hi.
I just want to know, is it possible? You know, I had a great relationship. I worshiped the woman I was married to. It was wonderful. Can I hope to find another relationship even almost as good after 70 years old, or should I just forget about having a woman in my life?
Well, Amy, what do you say to that?
Well,
Come closer to the microphone.
keep looking.
Okay. And
Keep looking.
And what does what does Vivian say to that?
Where is it? Everywhere. Where is it? Where to look?
It's hard.
You know, if you're, I believe that if it's meant to be, it will be.
Destiny.
And if it's not meant to be, it won't be. Now, clearly what was meant to be for you, Billy, was a phenomenal, wonderful, long-term loving relationship. There may be more of that meant to be. And if it's meant to be, it will be.
Oh, it'll happen. You just have to get out and circulate.
I'm not sure
the only place
that's
the dog
true.
park.
Well, what, are they going to come to his house?
Well,
You said that, well, good women don't grow up on the tree or something.
Yeah,
What did you say?
good women don't grow on trees.
You know, it's funny, but
they do.
the only relationship
You can find them picking up dog poop at the dog park.
They're all
the only
good
relationship the only relationship I've had since my wife did pass was a woman who actually did come to my door. So it can happen that way. My one advice to
Well,
everyone,
come
of
to
course,
your
is-
door, UPS deliver, woman.
My best friend brought
Amazon
my best
deliver
friend brought her. Yeah.
at the door.
Oh.
Avon lady?
No.
My
door
advice is to be friends first.
Okay.
I was friends for 8 years with my wife before I married her, but I don't have another 8 years to be friends this time, so I'll have to be quicker about it.
I think that's the best relationship you should have, is having built up a lot of good friends, male friends, women friends, so that when the time comes, you just know, you feel comfortable, right? You know each other so well.
Yeah.
And one time I was driving with my daughter to LA, and on the road, I was asking her, I said, who are you going to get married? She said, you know what, Mom? I'm going to marry my best friend. I said, who is your best friend? She said, we'll see. So I think she has a lot of wisdom, and I starting to realize if you cannot live, if you cannot even make a friend, a best friend with someone, how could you live under the same roof for so long? And you have to be friends first, and you have to like each other first, and then, you know, take care of each other and appreciate each other. So that's the foundation of any relationship.
Yeah, you can't build a relationship on just hot sex.
No.
Doesn't last.
No.
Yeah. Has this been? Excuse me. You know when you see in social media or whatever it says, "Was this helpful?" with a question mark.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Has this radio show been helpful?
Custom service survey. Yeah.
What do you think, Billy Sunshine?
Shall we shut it down 4 minutes early?
No, keep it going another 3 minutes.
Has this
you
show
guys
been
are doing a fine job?
Okay, but has this show been
helping you?
Helpful?
What I want to know is, are you going to be singing next Saturday night at the Stoward?
It's next Saturday?
It's next Saturday.
Is that the
MC.
16th?
Yep.
Okay.
Corralitos Cultural Center. You and I are going to sing. We're going to have a sing-off.
As a duet or separately?
Separately.
Thank God. Anyhow, the answer is yes. Yeah, I've got it programmed. It didn't sound like I did, but I think I do because in my brain.
We'll give it a quick promotion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Help me, Billy. Here, you know more. I know it's at the Corralitos Hall or something. What is it?
Corralitos Cultural Center.
Cultural Center.
And there's going to be music and comedy and just general, giggles and fun.
Once a
it's
month.
another word. There's another term that I read. Blank and bleep and giggles for bleeps and giggles. So anyhow, yeah. The answer is yes. I'm going to be there, and I'm looking forward to it. And if someone really wants me to sing, I will. That's the only time I ever sing because I'm so self-conscious of singing. In fact, it was at the potty where I met Vivian.
Yeah.
Where you must have told Vivian that I like to sing.
Yeah.
And Vivian asked me.
Online singing, they have those.
I'm taking some classes on singing.
Yeah.
I can sing for you at the end for just two lyrics.
Right now, because there's only
right now we have
left.
2 minutes
Okay,
left.
Can I sing a really famous French song?
But in 52 minutes.
Go.
Yeah, just go right now.
No talk. Just do.
Do it.
It's called Plaisir d'amour ne dure qu'un moment, chagrin d'amour dure toute la vie. This is the song for Cannot Help Falling in Love with You, the original song.
Oh,
you're hired.
Nice.
Holy Christmas, that's amazing.
Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can